fucking twat. All right.
All right.
God damn. So we're talking vocal processing.
All right. You ready?
Um, yeah. Let me actually like write down like four things. Unless you did you write down anything yet?
No.
No. All right. Let's just fucking go with it then. Because I think I got what I want in my head.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Two Dudes, Two Dolls. Today we will be talking about the absolute crushing, devastating weight that working. I'm kidding. Um, yeah, I was just joking.
Oh, I
Um,
know.
what's up? Oh my god, I don't want to start it. Okay.
I could start it.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. What's up, everybody? We're sponsored by Rain Energy Drinks. This is Two Dudes, Two Dolls. That's speaking shit into existence right there. I hate energy drinks. I'm not gonna lie. They're probably the worst thing for you, and I only really drink them when I'm not in the mood to make a cup of coffee. Which I could buy a cup of coffee, but fuck that. But yeah, we're Two Dudes, Two Dolls. Today we're gonna be talking about vocal processing. Um, and that shit sucks, but recently I've been kind of finding a lot more fun in like mixing and especially like oddly enough mastering, where that seems like everybody fucking hates mastering, but I thoroughly enjoy just throwing an EQ, compressor, a limiter, maybe a de-esser, and just like sitting there and just tweaking shit to like, because like it took me a while to understand that's where a lot of the work gets done. You know what I mean? Like I thought you get the sound right first, but now I'm realizing it's like no. Get like the overall like volumes of everything first, and then work about the mix later. Because like when I used to like master, I would just throw Ozone 9 on and just be like, cool, that's it. But I didn't realize that Ozone 9 actually doesn't know what the fuck I want. Um, so I started like getting more into mastering and I didn't know. I always wanted a lot of low end in my mixes. You know what I mean? And I didn't know how to get the low end. I would always put like overdrive on my basses and blah 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 blah. Doing all these like fucking adding like 16 plugins to like one thing, and I realized that like the process is a lot easier uh than you make it. You know what I mean? Like and that's just like me preferencing into vocals, because it's like I think a lot of people overdo their vocals, like really overdo their vocals, like to a point where they think that like they have to have 16 plugins to get this like certain, you know, thing. And like I mean I use like at least 10 plugins on my vocal chain. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm not that person, but like it's because I don't have a nice mic. I use simulators. I use like, you know, all the basic stuff, but like recently I've gotten into it, and I used to suck at mixing vocals. Like you can ask Jerry. Not that I sucked, I just didn't have great equipment, and that discouraged me into getting into it. But I used to record off my fucking iPhone headphones. Like I had a USB AT20 before this, which was like the worst mic, not meant to record vocals through like it sounded robotic in a weird way. Like you could tell it was like not through XLR or something like that. And I stopped making music with vocals basically. And now I'm at a point where like I'm dropping music again, and I had to go and mix my own shit because I didn't feel like I don't want to pay somebody. I would much rather do it myself because like I want to be a producer. So I started working on it, and I realized that like I overthink the whole entire process of vocals. It's getting a clean mix and then adding reverb or delay, maybe a few effects that you like. That's a vocal process, but like hearing the right frequencies is like the hardest fucking part in my opinion. Like I don't know. Like I don't know. Like what do you like? Because like I'll just explain my chain real quick. Literally, it starts off with an EQ that boosts a little bit of the high end, mid end, cuts a little bit of the low end, but like also boosts the low end. And then I'll put on a simulator, a mic simulator And I'll you like with this recent one, I did a Newman because that's like a very '90s boom bap uh, microphone, and so I simulated my AT20 into that, and then I then added like this is all through Ontaris, by the way, like the auto tune company. They have this plug-in bundle. It's $24 a month, and I think it's like hella worth it. Because then after after my simulator, it's like a warm plug-in, like it's a tube compression or like a tube warm, I don't know, whatever, simulator, another one. And then I like add some of that tube in there, compress, EQ again, de-esser, and then I limit my vocals because I like to I don't like to over compress. I only compress like literally my ratio is like a 2-in-1. Like I compress very light on my vocals, like very light on my vocals, and then I'll like use the limiter to bring out the vocals into the forefront of the whole mix, but that also compresses it heavily. So it's just like why compress it heavily and then use a limiter, which I think in my opinion makes it sound like overly compressed. And I like 90s boom bap. If you listen to a lot of it, it's dirty, but it's also really overly compressed. Like that's what gives it that like it's like parallel compression, I'm pretty sure. Because it's like what they do is they'll crank the fucking threshold, crank the output, and then dial that in slowly. And that's what I also do. I parallel compress my vocals, and that gives it that like grit. I didn't like. I was always trying to find the grit for my like boom bap vocals, and I could never find them. And I realized it was just as simply as parallel compressing because like you're destroying the fucking mix with this overly compressed compressor, and then just slowly dragging that in a bit so you hear the touch of like overdrive. It's a pretty cool trick. I know a lot of people what they do is they'll do vocals instrumental parallel compressed and then drums not. But I like to do vocals, drums parallel compressed and then stereo width on my like instrumental thing. But yeah, that's literally my fucking vocal chain. And then I add effects where I need them, reverb, delay. Uh, I actually don't really use reverb on myself. I don't see a reason to. I don't know why. I think my room reverberates enough for me. Austin needed reverb. Austin needed like a lot of reverb and delay. I the weirdest thing is I made a delay effect for him that was so like it would reverberate the reverb. So it'd be like an extra reverb, but like more prominent. Because you know how reverb's in the back, Jerry? Like
Yeah.
it's like pushed in the back. What I did was I had the reverb into the delay, which then pushed the reverb into the forefront, which then gave him that same vocal grit that I was getting in my vocals. Because like I every time I would parallel compress his vocals, he has such a light voice where it doesn't he doesn't have a lot of what's that shit called, like baritone, like a lot of
Mm.
like he has a deep voice, but it's not like you hear my voice, like your voice is the same way. It's like there's a lot in the low end. There's like a lot under here. He doesn't really have that. Like,
Right.
so I had to add the low end, but also not fuck his vocal up. So that's what that was doing. And I don't know why that worked, but it did. He has technically no delay on his vocals, but it's overly delayed, but you can't hear it. And it's like mixed it's like 50% delay into the mix. It's not even like like a little bit of delay. It's like largely delayed, but it sounds similar to my vocal. And I was like, I guess that works. That's another thing is just experimenting with it. But yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I do it weird. I don't because I don't follow anybody's methods. I just go on what I think sounds good. That's my biggest problem is that I don't follow methods. So like I'm like now learning all the methods, but also just being like, no, I like it the way that I did it though. I'll follow your method, but like I don't like how you EQ'd that. Like I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Word. So I have a couple thoughts.
Yeah.
Um, I just want to state my case on the mastering topic. I This is personal preference, but I don't know. I sound like I'm fucked up. I'm not fucked up. This
It's
is like,
Wednesday. This
yeah.
is what Jerry literally uh has his only day off, and then I steal an hour of it. So, you know.
Oh no, no, it's not you, man. It's my life. It's
Yeah, we're busy, bro.
fine. But yeah, so like this is my ideology, and I feel like it's a pretty commonly like shared thing in the world, but
Not
um
mastering your own track.
oh no, I mean I master the last 9 songs that I've done, I mastered them, and the next 40, what, 43, I will also be mastering them.
Yeah.
But um my process with, or thought process behind, like, what mastering is going to do to my thing is, like, I literally want the mastering engineer, whether it's me or homie man at homie studios, like, if if he has to do anything drastic in terms, like, especially in terms of like applying
If he has
any
to do
kind of,
anything with mixing, right? Like if
yeah,
he's
like
not
if
doing
he
the mastering,
like if he has to do any sort of like in intense like EQ things in particular,
yeah.
like if he has to do any of that, or if I have to do any of that on, like, on my master setup, like, the mix was not right. Like, I didn't work hard enough on my
See,
mix.
but that's a big difference between. So like I know for a fact that like with how people master rock and like rap, um, it's a big thing when you master to add EQ, like not add EQ, but like you EQ in mastering no matter what. But I know what you're saying is like overly boosting or like going in and adding like you know what I mean, like adding a lot more to the mix by just using an EQ. That's like pretty common in rap from what I've well with the low end. I can't say
Mm.
that high end. I didn't do anything with the high end. When I master, I might boost it like point 0.2 decibels. You know what I mean? Like the smallest amount. But like or I'll do like the very high end and I'll like do a shelf boost at the very end of the mix because I like that like the like clarity. I guess it's like clarity, right? Like it gives it a little more
It's like,
clarity.
yeah, like some, I guess it's more of like a, I hate to use this term, but an airiness.
Yeah, well,
No.
no, it does. And like if you listen to a lot of the music I listen to and make, it's like what do you hear? You hear crispy vinyl crackles, crispy like high end just in there, just like just in there. So it's like it makes sense to do that. But like with your music, it's it's more it makes more sense that you're like, what the fuck are you doing when you hear what I'm doing? Because it's like all you're doing with mastering is literally making sure it's equalized. That's what mastering is for like for everything is like making sure everything's equal. It all sounds like glue compression is like a good mastering technique. You glue everything together with glue compression, right? Like that's the one main thing people do. But like but with your music it's more so you're trying to get the clean mix, right? So
Yeah, I
with
mean, like,
my
my whole thing is like I have, like, I am a fan of having a mix bus. Like, some people, I don't know, like
I have one.
Jack in particular, he's like he's like fuck that. You don't need it. And I
Wait, do you
like,
when you have a mix bus, right? Do you is that always on? Like is it a
y-
template
my mix bus, everything is running through it before it hits my master fader.
at all times? Recording when you first pull up Pro Tools, it's there.
Well, I mean,
Or do you
I
set it up
guess,
every time?
um it depends if I'm working off a template. or if I'm not, but I usually um I usually, whether I'm starting a session from scratch or using a template, it's usually there. Only reason is okay, for example, I load up the template that I use for most of my shit because it's got all, it's got all my drum channels, all the guitar channels
Yeah.
that I might need, all the vocal channels that I might need, bass track, whatever. Like it's all just there. It's the workflow thing. But now there's always the mix bus is always there, but like when I'm tracking, like when I'm starting something, like I don't have an active chain on it.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
now I will say
Because I agree with Jack. I agree with Jack that like there's one thing that I do when I start. I have a this is a weird thing I do. I don't know if anybody else does this, but I have a master chain that I put on every single time I make music. So when I first pull up Ableton, I drag that master chain into my master, and that's not like a that's not like mastering. It's just like RC20 gives it some crisp. I have a glue compressor already added. I have an EQ already added. And like the EQ's blank, it has nothing on it. The glue compressor is compressing it to a point that it glues everything together. So I don't have to like it literally makes my life easier when I'm like recording so I hear everything together. Because if I hear things like I know like you're used to this, you get raw. Like when you're recording, it's raw, right? I can't like when I record and it's raw, I get so fucking overwhelmed that I need like that little bit of like dust so I know that like this is my music, this is what I'm making. And like
right.
so I have a master chain that I use on everything, but I actually do the whole mixing thing where I will I will I will export the so like I'll mix everything, like all the instruments that I want into the mix, and then I'll export it and then mix the actual whole entire wave in like a mastering type of mix. But it's not a master. It's like me just like you know adding reverb at certain portions of the songs and like delays at certain portions, cuts and this and that, and then I'll go and do the vocal portion, which is now exported of that mastering thing. I have such a long process with recording. It's fucking annoying. But I never have a mixing bus because I think it even having it off. This is a big thing I've like heard from many people. Having the accessibility to just turn it right on is just in your head already enough comfort that you don't have to experiment, I guess. You know what I mean? And like I mean, but it's different when you're doing bands and stuff. I'm assuming it's different. Like you're like when I go on Saturday, I'm gonna pull out my mixing bus that I have, and I'm gonna pull out my mastering bus that I have, and I'm gonna just use that. I'm not gonna fucking sit here and be like, all right, man. So this is what I think it needs. I'm like, no, we got 2 hours. This is what I got to do in 2 hours. You know what I mean? So like I understand that. But like with my own stuff, like I will never have a mixing bus like even close to accessible. That's why I like that I have my chains in like folders, like like all my chains are like in separate folders. So when I go and grab the chain, it's like I know, oh, I want to use this chain because I think it'll add this effect. Not that like, oh, I'm gonna turn this chain on because it's like it makes it sound good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I do that. Like here's the thing, like if I have I'm just a fan of the mix bus because I feel like it gives me, like, for example, I was working on a session this week where I feel like we probably went in a little hot. Like the drums were kind of hot,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it wasn't like I wasn't clipping any hardware. I wasn't clipping any hardware, any plugins or anything like that. It was just hot.
Just
And
crispy.
I was clipping on my master fader, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
it's just like, okay, let me just bring, I mean, I have a bunch of buses, so like I mean, I pulled my drum bus down and then maybe pulled the mix bus. down a little bit. I don't know. That doesn't really sound like it makes any sense. But
No, it makes sense.
point being is it's something that I like to use
Yeah.
uh because or rather like I always have it in the session, like whether it's active or not, which it's usually not until it's time until I'm done mixing like the song to where I think it's ready, and then I start fucking with things and applying it to the whole mix, not mastering it. Like it's like a pre-mastering thing. Um
How do you? So
the
see.
reason real quick, the
Yeah.
reason I it's always in my session, like the reason it's in my templates is because I don't want to have to like when I'm ready for that part of the process, I don't want to have to reroute every single track in my fucking session to hit that mix bus before it hits my master fader.
So do you just have on your mix bus, right? Do you just have chains for each instrument, like a guitar chain with certain plugins that you use every time?
Everything is going through my mix bus because it's a mix bus. It's not a guitar bus, it's not a vocal bus, it's not a drum bus.
So what do you
It's
have on it then? Because like I okay, ready? I hear people talk about mix buses all the fucking time. I don't think, and I've never, and I don't know why I haven't, because maybe I haven't dove too deep into mixing yet, but I've never looked it up what a mix bus was. Like I've seen people talk about them, but I'm like, oh, well, I do this thing. This is how I mix. So like that's what I'm used to. But my mixing is so chaotic, dude. Like I don't have any formula. I'm just like this plugin, this plugin, this plugin, this plugin, this plugin, this plugin. Okay, those plugins suck. Take them all off. And it's just that for hours. It's just adding different plugins, trying to find it. Like this reverb sounds good, this one doesn't. That reverb sounds good, this one doesn't. Oh, flanger on this sounds better than flanger on that. Let's add flanger to this parallel. And it's just like I have no like bus. I just like mix. And then like when my mix is done, that I think it's done, I'm like, cool. But if my mix isn't done, and you were talking about this before the podcast, bringing this up, which is why I'm bringing it up because it it references it. But like, like what happens when I fuck up my mix and like everything's fucked up? I delete it, everything. I,
mhm.
from the beginning. Like sometimes if I fuck a mix up to a point that I think the song doesn't sound good and I know how to redo the song, I will literally, just because it helps my brain, start a new project, restart the whole entire project and start from literally from zero and go from 0 to 100 again. Like I had to do that with me and Austin's vocals like a bunch of times. Like I would sit here, start the project, start mixing, delete the whole entire project, restart, delete the whole entire, like I just had to keep doing this until I got it down right. But yeah, I don't so like what do you put in your mixing bus? Cuz I don't do that. I don't do that at all.
Okay. So, um like number 1, like I I personally like I have a process that I've done and I don't know, have been, building on for two like at least like 2 years now,
Yeah.
mixing wise. I mean, all my projects are different, but it's all like the same kind of things. Like I record music where there's a drum set, a couple guitars, bass, and some vocals, and maybe some keys or some extra bullshit, but it's more or less like it's that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have a process.
See, I guess
And
that's a big difference is like every
like
time I make,
the way you're describing your mixing scares the absolute shit out of me.
I know I saw your
That
face. I saw your
that shit
face.
sounds like that shit sounds crazy.
But at the same time, none of my shit ever sounds the same. And I'm not saying your shit ever sounds the same, but you can tell you have the same mix, right? And I'm not saying that's a bad thing either. I just don't know like my sound yet. Like I like when I was recording this week, I think I figured my process out. I think I figured out because I looked at all the shit that I was doing right and doing wrong, and I'm now like taking notes on shit in my life, which is people take notes. Literally, I don't know why I didn't for years, but if you're learning something, you're going to have so many fucking failures that if you write down your failures, you look at your failures and it's as easy as going, don't do that again. So like take down notes, but like that's what I was doing. I was like sitting here writing down all my failures, and through that I wrote a process out. I was like, oh, so what I was doing wrong is when I first mixed my track, I mixed my vocals in with the track instead of, mixing track, adding vocals, mixing vocals. Like that's the process that many people do. So now I know, okay, well, finish the fucking mix of the track, export it, and then save that. If the track's not finished to a mixing point that you like, then just go to that track, remix it, export that file. So like, I've realized my process, but like, yeah, very chaotic what I do. Like to a point that the reason it took me so long this week was like, it was like 4 or 5 hours of just trying different plugins and different plugins.
Yeah, see, like I have like I- I'm not saying like my process with mixing is not formulaic. Like it's not like
But it
okay,
shouldn't
like
be.
yeah, it's not like okay, here's this song we tracked. I'm going to work on the drums and get these drums sounding like what I think the
I
final
don't trust
project should.
people who do that. I don't,
Well,
you
because
know?
it doesn't make sense because like you could mix your drums to sound fucking great if you have your drum soloed. Like add everything else in, it's gonna sound like a clusterfuck.
Or even to a point, you could sit here and mix a fucking Gretsch Catalina and then with the same mixing bus go or the same mix or the same idea of what you're doing with mixing. Like how those people are like, this is how you should mix. It's like, no, I don't think there's a rule book on mixing. I think there's references, right? But when people are like, this is how you should mix, those people, when they record like a Gretsch Catalina and then they go and fucking record like a Pearl and they record the same drum kit or two different drum kits with the same type of mix, they get two different mixes and one sounds worse than the other, but they're like, this is how you do it. This is how you learned it in college. It's like, no, but like your formula doesn't work because it's a open-ended thing where it's just like sometimes like your references are correct and like that's a good point to stay in your references. I stay in my references, but at the same time, sometimes you might need to get out of that reference. Like on bass with 808s, you usually boost around 60. Well, some 808s don't boost around 60. Some 808s you want to boost around 40. Some 808s you want to boost around 80. You know what I mean? But if you sit
Hmm.
here and boost at 60 all the time, you're gonna have bad mixes. Like so being formulaic is terrible, I think. Like
Yeah, so it's
problem.
it's not that. It's just like I have.
That makes me happy because I thought you were pretty formulaic. When I hear your shit, I'm like, he has his shit down. Like I can tell that you have your shit down, but then I also talk to you about music and I'm also just like, but he also doesn't seem like he's like this like because you every time I send you like a mix, you never are just like, well, it needs a little more in 1.5 hertz, I think, or kilohertz. I think it's a little, quiet here and in the 80 hertz, like, you know
Yeah,
what
I
I
mean,
mean?
I try. This is more like how do I say?
We're shit talking elitists right now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is like coming from like a kind of purist type of thing. Like, especially like I don't know. Like, it depends on the purist you're talking to. Like, I like Steve Albini. He's one of me and Jack's favorite engineers, and his big thing is like,
YouTuber?
no, no, no. He did In Utero by Nirvana. Like, he's done some really sick punk records,
Does he have
math
anything
rock
on
records.
YouTube? Like where he's like talking about mixing?
Yeah, like he's the fucking goat. Like everybody fucks
Steve,
with him.
what was it again?
Steve Albini.
Albini.
Yeah,
Oh, I'll
he
remember that easily. Okay.
yeah, I mean he's famous. Like he did
Yeah.
fucking In Utero. And then he did not the Bush record, but he did the other Bush record and he did like but he's also done some shit that I love. Like he did a TTNG record. He did the Don Cab record. He's done Owls, which was like a Captain Jazz like side project type. So it's like the man has had, and also by the way, like he's all analog, like it's all analog. Um,
I'm trying to get there, dude. One
yeah,
day.
I mean, I don't know. I think it takes
I mean, like you're 20% analog. I would say you're more so 50% analog.
Not like when I'm talking analog, like I'm talking to
Oh,
like
you're talking about like analog.
like the man records the tape.
Oh.
Yeah.
So he has a big dick.
Yeah, he's got a huge dick, and he's also like I feel like a lot of people don't like him because
Has
like
he worked at Radiohead?
no,
Oh wait,
I
Radiohead does their own shit, right?
I don't know, frankly. Um, but no,
Yeah.
I don't not to my knowledge. Um, but anyway, like yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people like you either love him or you hate him because like he's just like so dry and he's kind of like an asshole.
Yeah,
But
but
in a good way.
isn't that always the best mixing engineers? Like think about the best producers. They're the ones that literally look at you and be like, "Nah, that's like Jack. Jack is literally the quote unquote best producer." This is why I've always loved Jack. He's dry, cut to the point, and that's like what I always want in a producer. And
Well,
if I
so
ever,
yeah, I'm gonna stop you
yeah,
only
stop me.
because like so Steve Albini's whole thing is he's like I am not a producer. I am an audio engineer. I
Good
will
for him.
not like like a band comes in to record, like he is not going to tell you what you should do to your song that you wrote
See,
to make it better.
I think that's me and your differences. I think you're a producer. I think you wear the producer pants, but
Oh,
I
I
think
absolutely wear the producer pants. I really try not to, but it just like
it's natural. You're me and you are very similar. Where if we have an idea, we are going to speak the idea. That's just
it's almost like it's not like I can't help myself. It's the fact that like I haven't done a record with anyone who has been like, I don't want your opinion. Every record I've done, they've been like, not only do I want your opinion, like I probably want you to like play like on this
yeah,
track and like
yeah,
collaborate. And then like my first project, like I'm in the fucking band now
yeah,
because of like
yeah.
how much they wanted my input, you know.
But
Um,
I look at you as more of like of a mixing engineer, and I look at myself like if I was to sit here and work on a big project, like I look at myself as a producer, right? Like I don't really, not that I'm not capable of mixing. I just don't see myself like as a mixing engineer. Um, but like, because like I don't have the knowledge. Like you have knowledge of like, well, like you have the reference knowledge. I don't really have the reference knowledge. Like I just am starting to get it. But basically, I just think it's like with you, you have all that audio knowledge, and with me, it's like I have I have just the like I have no fucking knowledge, just a lot of ideas, and
yeah,
like
it's
when I work
ideas and feelings
and
for
feelings,
sure.
yeah, but I have no knowledge in anything. Like I picked up my bass, right? I bought a bass, everybody. I've never played a stringed instrument in my life. I mean, I've diddled with them, I've picked them up, and like I can for some reason I can pick things out. I don't know why. It just that's how my brain works. So I picked the bass up, and I'm sitting there, and I listened to my track that I'm making, and I just played like without like instinct, bro. Like instinct, just played along perfectly. I was like, what the fuck? And it just clicked to me. I was like, I might not know shit, but I feel shit. And like, that's a very important thing. Like, feeling music is like 90%. Knowing music is like, I would even say 5%. You know what I mean? Like, because you could, that's why jazz is amazing. They're cats, right? Who know 40% to like a lot of theory, but they're fucking cats and they're all based on feeling. They're not really.
I mean, I I don't think that's correct.
Well,
I think
think about this though. A lot of older jazz cats that popped off, like one of the most famous predominant trumpeteers had no knowledge of music at all, and all he knew how to do was just go Boing! Became the most famous like trump. I forget what his name is. I got to look him up. But like literally, it became like this like form of soloing. It was like scatting through a trumpet, but he didn't know how to play trumpet. He just picked the trumpet up and just started doing this. But like I think yeah, jazz is so too open ended to really categorize it with all the also the things I'm saying. Because jazz is like artistic to a point where like if you know nothing about music but you're fucking going, you're a cat. But also like you could be the dude who knows everything about music and just fucking feels it and riffs and just goes off, and then you're a cat too. So it's like jazz is, yeah, I can't really say that specifically about jazz, but yeah. Well,
Why did I bring up Steve Albini?
we were talking about you brought up Steve Albini being your favorite producer, and then you were like he calls
Yeah.
himself an audio
Oh,
engineer.
I know why I brought him up. Cause like the reason like you send me a mix and I'm not like you should do this to it is because I don't fucking know what Luke's music is supposed to sound like, you
Yeah,
know? And like that's like one of Steve Albini's big things is like bands come to record with him. He's responsible for setting up the gear and the mics and everything, making it sound good. If there's a technical issue, he knows how to fix it. The session will run smoothly. Like that's like that's what he does. Like he's not there to tell. It's funny. There's a story he tells about when he was doing the Bush record, and and everyone in the band wrote up like a track list, um like in order of the songs for the album. And he tells his story and he's like it goes against what I'm about, but they were adamant like asked me to write up in order for the album, like in order that the song should be in. And he said there was this one tune, I forget the name of it. um there was this one tune that on his track list, he literally left it out because he thought it was garbage. He was like, this song fucking sucks. Like, sorry,
wow.
like I wouldn't put it on the record. And everyone in the band had it either like first, second, like they all had it like at the top of the record. Like, and they and so like, you know, Bush puts out this record. I forget if it was like the first or second track on that album. Maybe it was probably at the top of the thing. Anyway, the whole point is that song was the fucking hit off that record. And like that's Steve Albini's thing. He's like, I think that song's fucking garbage. I thought it was a terrible song, frankly, and I hated it. But
Yeah.
like like that goes to show how much I know. Like I thought they shouldn't have put it on the record. They all loved it, put it on the record, and that was the hit off of it.
Well, that's like
You know
how
what
I
I'm saying?
no 100%. That's what got me over my fear of like putting out like boom bap or like boom bap mixed styled stuff. I was scared at first. I'm like, all these rap heads aren't going to be like, they're not going to appreciate it because like it's not like clean 808s, clean this, like. And then I thought about it for a second, and I was like, but that's not what I want. I was like, somebody's gonna love my trash, and like I've even gotten to a point where I think I want to make it sound shittier, like
Mm-hmm.
like fucking tapes, like literally like cassette tape like style sounding like just that bad. But yeah, no, I 100% agree with that because it's just like you don't know what's good. You literally okay. This is the thing about music. Nobody knows what's fucking good ever. The bands making the music don't know if they're making great music. The people who are putting out don't know if they're making or putting out great music. But it's just this it's like what is that? What is that? What is it called? It's like subjective, right? Like it's like all about what we like. But like I mean, I know songs that I know this song I'm about to put out is going to be good, but I don't know if it's going to be a hit. Like I don't think anybody knows what song they put out is going to be a hit. Nobody knows what song is going to be a hit. And like I think that's a good thing to like literally live by while just like opening your doors. Just like you could make the worst track in the world. Like I've heard a lot of like in comparison, like I've showed people music like JPEG Mafia. I've showed a lot of people. A lot of people don't like JPEG, and I understand because if you listen to JPEG, it's like glitch, hip hop, punk, like, but it's not like Death Grips. A lot of people put them in the same category. I don't, but basically, like, it's really like trashy mixing, but it's good to me, and it's really like all over the place, but it's good to me, and that's where I think my direction is going to be going. Do I think a lot of people will follow that? No. Do I think a lot of people will even understand it? Fuck no. I mean, even in my recent track, at the very end of the song, there's a sample of another song that has nothing to do with this song. But I was just like, I like this, so I'm going to put it in. I think this song is a vibe, and I think this adds to the vibe, so let me put it in. There's a Hey Arnold sample. I don't know how I got it passed on Spotify, bro. I don't know how I got it passed on Spotify, but I did. I did it. I don't know how. Every time I make a sample or like put music out, I get it passed, and I'm like, "What are you stupid?" Like the literally last 10 seconds of the of the song, it is not even to a point where it's like oh indistinctable of what this it's the song. It's just the song with a little bit of EQing. Like that's just like I forget what the song even is called. So if they like try to copyright me, I'll be like, thanks, bro. Now I can put you in the credits. But yeah, no. So like it's true. It's just uh like some people are mixing. I think a lot of people don't understand that. Like people think any recording studio you walk into, it's like this is the producer. It's like no, not everybody's a producer. Because like not everybody knows what's fucking popular. Like this is the difference. Not everybody knows what's popular. This is what I think I was getting at. Not everybody knows what's popular, but also not everybody knows what sounds amazing. So like you have a mixing engineer who knows what sounds amazing, but then you have fucking like George Martin who worked with the Beatles and literally told the Beatles were only because of George Martin. They called him the fifth member because he literally was like, this is what you're playing. This is how you're playing it. This is that. We're going to get an orchestra. We're going to put it. And like, he just told them what the fuck to do basically. And that's a producer, you know, that's a producer. That like when somebody sits here and tells you what the fuck to do and you need to trust them and you know they're right, that's a producer. And if you think your manager does that, you shouldn't have a manager because like your manager's to get you gigs, not tell you how to make the music, you know?
Right.
I don't know. That's my little tangent about like the because like a lot of people don't understand that. Like there's a whole difference between it all.
Yeah, for
But yeah,
sure.
mixing bus. That's what we were talking about. That's what we were talking about. We were talking
Yeah.
about your mixing bus.
Like I don't think my mixing process is formulaic. Like I have plugins that I go to, but they're not they're not defining like what it actually sounds like. Like I have preferences as to what compressor and what EQ and this and
Okay, so
that
you
I'm
have
going to
more of like
use.
a cleanup.
But that's just because like this track needs compression and this track needs EQ. Like I could literally do it with stock plugins.
So
Like
you
I have
basically literally make a clean. This is the best way I could explain it to myself. Like you make a cleanup bus, where it's just like EQ compressors, no like reverbs, delays.
no. Hold on.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Let me let you explain. I'm just trying to like hear you and then gather it myself because
Yeah,
like I don't understand it.
I'll explain where it comes in. Um, like my mixing is not formulaic. Like, I mean, maybe in the sense of where because here's the thing: I record uh my drum set every week. It's my drum set.
Yeah.
It's usually like I'm not gonna say it's the same mics every time, but I'm doing a song a week, bro. Like I don't have time to like really get experimental. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
like I look forward to doing that. Um, but I've just been rolling with literally like whatever, like
Yeah.
whatever set up. Like for example, like I had when I started this project, I think it was the same drum setup, like miking and everything that we used on the 5 minute EP, right? And then we started doing this shit with Austin, like Jack's. So Jack's mentality is like we're treating every session as its own like thing. So when we did that stuff, like we talked about like let's try this, like let's fuck around with these mics, like let's try to go for this kind of a thing. And so we changed shit up for that session, and then I was like, well, I don't have time to fucking do everything. Like, I'm just gonna roll with this setup for a little while. I even like on the tune that I just put out today called Pocket Change. Like,
which is
I
amazing.
oh thanks, bro. I
Yeah, it's great.
appreciate it. I literally used Austin's snare drum and his ride cymbal on it because it was just there, you know. And his snare sounds great. I love the like
Yeah,
it's
he is a nice fucking kid, dude.
yeah. Like we just like we used my kit, but we used his snare, and
Yeah.
I got some of his cymbals hanging out here, and like it was just set up, and I was like, cool. Like I don't really have time to fuck around with all this. Like I'm just gonna fucking play it. Especially, oh man, he's got this Karope ride cymbal. It sounds so fucking good. I was like, I gotta use this on a track. So anyway, like yeah, so like now now, what I will say is, like, even though I used the same mics and the same drums, like the production of the drums for my song that came out today is not anything like the production of the drums that will be on that record.
Yeah.
Like I do my thing, I do it a certain way. Like it like they would not like they're not cross compatible. Like
Yeah.
yeah. So
Like I wouldn't mix these kids. Like when I go on Saturday, I'm not gonna sit here and give them the Luke Knobloch mix of truth. I'm gonna give them a simple EQ compressor, uh, de-esser. That's the chain.
right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. So like I've kind of just been, and then we did like this weekend we did fucking modern culture. We did drums for them. Not the record, we just recorded drums. That's all they needed. Um but like the mic setup that we used on that, I'm like cool. Like the track that I put out, and like so the track that's coming out next for week 9, it doesn't have any drums. Um, but like the next time I record drums, it'll probably be the same mic setup that's just there. I mean, different kit, different
Yeah.
style of production. Like I'm not even producing the drums for modern culture. Like, but we just fucking recorded them. They're going to Greg. He's gonna do what he's gonna do with them.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, yeah. So
I'm gonna
like
get
that's
Greg
kind
on
of
here one day.
yeah. We should.
He's a good producer.
Yeah.
I love that kid. We go way back. He was my original guitarist of Inhale.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
like
I'd love to get him on.
yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Wait,
anyway,
was he there Saturday?
no.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, so like then like after Brandon took his drums and we left, I was just like, all right, well, like I'm just gonna fucking roll with this. And like I set my drums up and put the same fucking mics that we had just used,
Yeah.
more or less. There's a couple things that I like. I didn't really, I didn't add anything. I like there was a couple things that we did that I took away because I just like my shit didn't need it. Um, but anyway, like after shit is recorded, um, it just went on about tracking for a while. But after shit is all done being tracked and it's ready to mix, like I have certain things that I like to do. Like I have a certain way that I like to EQ my kick drum. It's the same kick drum. It's the you know like it's not the same mics every time, so like some stuff changes, and the kick drum song to song changes. Like sometimes like I need a high shelf on that kick so it really fucking like I get that clickiness out of it.
Let me ask you
So
something random real quick while we're talking about the kick.
sure.
Do you cut low end at all?
So um here's what I do. This is something I started doing. And one thing I think is important to mention is that like my next big boy purchase is a proper set of monitors. So right now I'm mixing on 5-inch speakers that aren't anything special. Like the frequency like the
Do they get
frequency
low end?
not nearly enough. Not nearly enough.
That's my issue right now. I either need to get a sub or just bigger monitors.
Yeah. So, um, like I try not to do anything super aggressive below like 60 hertz. I try not because I can't fucking hear it, bro.
That's
Like
why
I
you
can't,
do it.
huh?
That's why you do it.
No, I'm not doing shit that I can't hear. I don't even know if it sounds good.
No, 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 no. So this is a big thing with mixing in like rap and hip hop, and I think a lot of I
Oh,
think a
you
lot
saying like that's why you cut because you can't hear it?
you don't. So ready when you're
Yeah.
when you're mixing bus in, right, or bass in, right, and you have that sub kick that you can't even hear, you're just muddying up your bass now. You know what I mean? Because you want that sub from your bass there, but you want your kick. So basically, how I like to look at it is this is how it should like be with frequencies. Is like this far off. You want your sub, you want your bass here, and you want your kick to be like here. Because like when your kick's here, you're only getting like that pa and the high end. So I cut like low cut, like hard cut, like I don't know how hard you can go. I think you have fab, right? You can go up to like 182 fucking decibels or some shit. So I would do that type of cut only up to like 20 or 25, and you'll hear it because your kick will go from like a boom 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 to a more like a boom boom boom. For some reason, I don't know why this does it, but this is how I EQ all my kicks. I don't do anything else to my kick but this, and it makes it sound fat and it makes it sound crispy. I don't know why, but when you get rid of that sub, for some reason the high end comes out. I don't know why. I can't tell you. I'm not that deep into mixing, but like I saw that trick one time with somebody like explaining how to mix 808s and kicks, and I think like that could. Not saying like your mixes are fine. I'm not saying I hear like a
Yeah, no,
huge,
I get what you're saying
but
though.
I think it'll just make your kicks like kick and like give your bass. It just gives your bass a little more room, gives your kick a lot more room in the high end to break through.
I'll tell you what I do specifically in the low end. Now, like Pro Q will kind of analyze, so it makes it even easier. Like I don't even like I could teach anyone to do this, like. But uh, something I like to do is, and this varies from track to track, but normally like every track is my kick drum with a similar mic setup, and every time on my songs it's Jack playing bass, and it's recorded relatively the same way, so it's always around the same type of thing. But I'll look and like depending on because I feel like some mixes like this is a kick drum mix. Some mixes it's like this is a bass mix. Like
Oh yeah,
like
hundred
in the
percent,
like in the low end you kind of got to pick and choose like
a
what.
hundred
Yeah, like what's
percent,
gonna
dude.
define my low end? Like
Because
is
then
the
it just sounds
bass
like
gonna
mud.
sit and chill, or is the kick drum gonna sit and chill? It can't it like
No, that's like
I,
a big thing that like,
they
and
gotta
if
have a good relationship regardless of what you want to be like taking the forefront. But like yeah, I yes, they need it's
it's
in my
prominent,
opinion, it's got to
it's
be one
no,
or
no, no.
the
It's not
other.
even an opinion thing. Like if I'm gonna sit here and be the elitist for 1 second, this is me putting my foot down. It's either the kick or the bass. That's it's either the kick or the bass. You got to choose when you're mixing the kick or the bass. When you're mixing, you hear the song and you're like, this sounds like more of an 808 song. Then you gotta fucking make room in your kick for the 808. If you're sitting here being like, this sounds more like a thump thump hard on the fucking floor, like fucking kick out of the ass, you're gonna have to make some fucking cuts and adjustments to your like bass. Like that, like they're they're literally twins, right? They're twins. And but one twin likes one thing and the other twin likes another thing. So you got to decide which twin gets something today. You know what I mean? Like you can't get the twins something, but it's not, but like it's just like that was a horrible, horrible metaphor. But what I'm basically trying to say is like it's either or. You can't just be like, well, I mean, now I'm sitting here being like, well, experimenting. Sometimes it, but like when you're like really getting a mix down, like you want your kick or your sub to be present. Like it's like it's very prominent. Like if you don't want your mix to sound muddy, that low end is so important. You know
Yeah,
what I
for
mean?
sure. So this is oh my god, this episode was supposed to be about vocal processing, but
I know.
let me just make my peace with a couple of things, and then I'll kind of talk about that. But so in the real low end of the mix, like talking like 50 to 150 hertz, because frankly, like with my setup, I can't fucking hear below 50 hertz. So that's what I'm going to talk about. 50 to 150. I That's something I do is like something I just worked on, like boosting the kick drum at 75 hertz.
It's beautiful.
That shit was nice.
Try
So
60.
yeah, it's like
60, 75. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know what you mean.
yeah, it depends, and like we're talking like the Q would come into play here too, but
Yeah. Yeah,
roughly
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
roughly like 70 75 hertz, like around there, sounded nice. I wanted more of that in my kick, so I cut that shit. Getting a phone call, so I cut that shit in the bass, and then at say like 120 hertz, like where the Q on my kick drum boost like tapered off, like I bumped that on the bass and cut the same frequency at the on the kick.
I could
And
save
then
you time. Fab filter, you can sidechain your cues with your kick,
oh, that's interesting.
and then use that. What is that? The dynamic thing.
Yeah.
So when the kick hits, then it boosts it back up into the dynamic range that you want it. So like all you do is just boom, boom.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
I've been
definitely.
handling it differently than that, but I'll have to fuck around with that.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot. I can't do that in Ableton. I mean, because I use I don't use Fab filter or, but like Ableton's EQ, I use like 97% stock plugins at this point. But
Right.
yeah, the EQ has nothing to do that with. So I have to sit here and do all that fucking work. It's annoying. I hate
Right.
it.
I really I want to wrap up this segment and just get to the point. But so anyway, like yeah, so like I get my mix, right? Like I get my mix, and it's all going through this mix bus. Everything is funneled into this single bus. Everything. That is where, like maybe in your case, like where you're doing this like where you're putting on like an EQ on your master and making changes there. Like I do that all on my mix bus.
Oh, okay, so we're just processing it. You're
Right.
just
And
processing it.
then I have like I mean, I have a compressor that I like. I use the API 2500 on. I put that shit on everything. No,
Yeah.
not everything, but
Have you fucked
that's
with glue compression before?
yeah. I mean, you can do it
Oh,
with
the API does that.
you can do it with like it's. I mean, it's on a lot of compressors. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have I mean, I just actually got the Waves bundle, and that has that H compressor and a bunch of those really good
Mhm.
compressors. So I'm assuming they might, but all of my compressors have been like, I have a compressor and a glue compressor, and I just use my glue compressor for basically fucking anything that's mixing. It's like glue compressor, fuck a regular compressor. Like if I'm mixing like single instruments, then compressor. But if it's like buses, or we don't have buses, we have groups. But like
Mm.
if it's a whole group, I'll glue that whole group together because it just glues it together. Can't
Yeah, I
can't
mean,
go
I
wrong.
feel like don't quote me on this, but I was under the impression that like a glue compressor is more like something you dial in on a compressor, not like a separate like thing.
No, it's a whole separate. There's like glue compressors, and then there's like a compressor, like a very
Interesting.
a very famous glue compressor. You know that compressor that's like has all the colors on it? It's like all the
Maybe.
dials are like different colors and shit. It's like, fuck. It's like a rack compressor, but it's a very like they're normally known as like mastering compressors because you usually only would put a glue compressor on a master. But I think at this point in the future, it's like glue compressors glue stuff together. Like literally, like the whole purpose is like you put it on a mix, and like with a regular compressor, it'll just like I don't know because like I can't I don't know the terms, but like the best way I can explain it is when I regularly compress like a chain,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't flatten it, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like you still hear the stereo separation. Say if I'm doing something with like because like specifically with like the way I make music with drums, they're all different samples.
Right.
They're all different sounds, tones, sonic, whatever. So I need glue compression on my drums because like if I don't do that, it sounds like the hi-hat could be all the way in the fucking top left and then the fucking snare could be all the way in the bottom right. But if I glue compress it, it kind of makes it mono but still have stereo depth, it sounds like. Like that's the best way
Interesting.
I can explain it. But with a regular compressor, all it does is it keeps everything the same but just cuts. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like they're two different things, but they do this like literally you can use a glue compressor to compress things as well. It's not like mutually different. And I'm sure that if you were great with compressors, I'm not. I'm sure you could do the same thing with a compressor, but like from what I've understood is like literally the purpose of glue compression is like you put it on a master to glue all of it together. The vocals, the fucking mix, all of it like is like in this weird mono stereo with that's what like Ozo 9 does is like when it uses like a limiter, it's like glue compressing and limiting at the same time.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna speak to it
Yeah,
because
I can't really either.
I can't, but I know like for example, like in the in the presets on the API, like there's this preset for like mix bus compression, and then there's a preset for like mastering glue, type shit.
Yeah,
Um,
but that's also like plugins are fucking ridiculous. You can just add like a fucking chain of codes and then it can become a glue compressor. You know what I mean? Like
right. Yeah.
but
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, anyway, so like okay, so say like I use fucking like I'm not a mastering engineer, bro. I use fucking Ozone 9. Like that's
Yeah.
what I, you know. Um
Every
so
fucking producer in the world right
yeah.
now.
Yeah. So like but here's the thing is like where like the EQ on Ozone, right? Like where you're maybe making like more drastic moves on that. Like I'm doing that with ProQ on my mix bus. Like that's where I'm doing more of like my my moves. And then on Ozone when I go to master, it's very very subtle. I can
Yeah.
hear it. I know what's happening, but it's very subtle. And I started doing that when I realized like okay, like when I'm sending my mix to a mastering engineer, like like he's going to assume that this is like the way that I want it to sound unless there's any like very very obvious technical errors that I've made like he's going to assume this is more or less the way that I want it to sound and he's going to honor that. So I'm not going to send a mastering engineer something that I haven't like done that to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, talking about getting back to the topic here in two dudes, two dolls fashion.
Yeah, at this
Uh
point we're changing the
the first
episode
five
name.
minutes, the first 5 minutes and the last 5 minutes. Or I cannot talk about it and we can
No, no,
just
no, no.
say fuck
Talk.
it.
I'm just gonna name this. We're just gonna name it fucking mixing and vocal mixing, and vocal
Yeah.
processing.
All right.
Fuck it.
So my my vocal deal is quite simple. Um it's like there's you like I rarely will I use more than 5 plugins. It just it gets it done. Like
Yeah.
um and I'm also really big on like getting it right going in. Um I've found that with any singer, I usually don't need more than 4 or 5 plugins. Um but the way I approach tracking depending on the singer is different. Like for example, like take Lucia from Ornamental. Like her voice from a dynamic standpoint, it all kind of sits in like a very similar like term, like a very similar range of like loudness. Like when I record, like I literally I have just noticed this from recording myself. I am a very like my dynamic range is is huge. We're talking strictly like loudness here. Like
Yeah.
I like I'll go from like a real whispery kind of part, like I'm whisper singing, to like I am fucking screaming.
Yeah.
And I've just noticed like it's like like for a song where like I'm doing like I'm singing in my lower register, like just chilling in the verses, and I'm like belting on the chorus, like I'll record the verses and then go back and do the choruses because I have to fuck with settings on my interface before I
Sure.
do that. Um or sometimes sometimes I'll even set up like a separate a separate track. Like I'll have a vocal track for all my like chill kind of vocal stuff, and I'll have like a, a belting or screaming type of track because I approach them I approach them very differently. It's almost like it needs to be on a second track. Depends on the song, depends on how much time I have. Like, you know, the Year in the Life project has been like I've had no time, you know,
Yeah.
so I'm kind of just doing shit on the fly. But yeah, my you know, my chain isn't fucking like it's not crazy, man. Like I have a compressor that's doing the heavy lifting, and I have a compressor where like it's usually like I have one dialed up to do the heavy lifting, and I have one dialed up very differently to work on some of the other things in it. But I not always, but I usually go compressor, Pro Q, and like that's usually like it's usually pretty it like pretty much it. And then I have it sent like I don't put any reverb or any delay on my vocal track. Like
Yeah.
that's all sends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um
Same,
yeah,
actually.
yeah. So but it's real basic, man. Especially for me, because like I know like it's not formulaic. Like I know like I could not listen to the track and dial up the compressor and set an EQ. Like it's not that much. It like it's not like that crazy. Like it does vary. But it is kind of like I know what to expect from my voice because I've recorded
You don't put any overdrive or distortion or anything like
unless
that.
it's like specifically for an effect.
Hmm.
Like like
Maybe
like
that
if I
might be
want
because my mic's not too powerful. I feel like I kind of have to add it to give it a little more like push, if that makes sense.
interesting. I mean, yeah, like there's some times where like I'll pull out shit like that, but it's cuz I'm going for
A
an
sound.
idea.
Yeah.
It's not like oh like it needs like the whole vocal track needs this. It's like there's this part where I want it to like have that like a distorted kind of vocal, or there's this part where I want it to be like a filtered type of vocal.
Yeah.
It's very very basic, and it's like even though every singer's different, like I've recorded myself on the 7B which is pretty like I know like I cover a lot of ground, like very low, quiet type of shit, and like I'm yelling, and then like I've recorded Lucia with the 7B. I kind of know what to expect when I'm recording like that style of like female vocal. I've recorded literal fucking like metalcore, like Austin like screaming type,
Yeah, yeah,
like fucking like Lamb of God type shit,
yeah. Yeah.
or like you know. So I don't know. I just kind of like know what to expect, and I have like like the type of plugins that I want to use, like compressor, EQ, like
Wait, do you
boom
like
boom.
do compressor, EQ, like literally in that
Yes,
order?
yes.
Hmm.
Not every single time,
Yeah, I'm
but
usually a compressor first, compressor last type guy.
what you said?
I'm usually like in my chain. It's like a because I do the same thing, two compressors. That's what I meant by it. I have a light compression, and at the very end, I have like a heavier compression on tails, and like
Mm-hmm.
to to emphasize reverbs and delays more. Basically, that's what I do that for, and to bring it out in the mix more. But like, what I do is I'll do like, and this is how I always do it, just because it works for me. And again, like I'm like within the last 2 months, this is what I always do because it works with me. I'm like just getting back into vocal like type shit. So it's not like I'm like a professional people. So don't take my advice and be like, this sucks, because it might. Um, but like I do a compressor, light compressor, 2-in-1, and then I'll do like a 4-in-1 compressor at the very end with like, you know, uh, longer release, short attack, so it has that like, it keeps transients high, but at the very end, it pulls the fucking tail out. Um, and but in between is like my I like to add a de-esser
Oh
always.
yeah, I did miss that. I will say not on everything for me, because I've noticed um I don't know if it probably hasn't always been this way, but I think now that like I'm a mixing guy, like I pay more attention to it, but I personally believe I have fairly decent sibilance control.
Yeah, me too. And I was about to say I only use um de-esser because of my breaths. I mean, like it's a lot different with you. You don't take as many breaths. I'm rapping, so I'm like, doing stuff like always
Mhm.
take, because you got to take your breaths. You can't like say a whole like it's hard, especially when you're rapping like this and talking like this with using all of your breath and
Yeah,
expression.
it's
And
all legato.
yeah, and it's so it's hard. But I use the de-esser for that. But I don't really I like hearing my breath. I like hearing breath in rap. I don't know why people really cut all of the breath out. Have you seen those people who mix every
Yeah,
fucking breath
it's
out?
funny because there's a specific record, not that I recorded, that I was a part of, and I was so adamant on the breaths being out of there. And I like now I'm like, are you fucking kidding me, bro?
The
Like
breath adds so much
like
effect.
people breathe, dude.
I think the whole thing about breath is like even in rap, when you hear like the baby rapping and you hear him take a breath, it just humanizes the thing. No matter what, I don't know why, it's like that fucking glue that humanizes everything. That's how I feel about it. So like when I hear somebody breathe, like right before they're about to, like, not an intent, like if I hear somebody go before, I'm like cutting that shit. Like, but
Mm-hmm.
if it's just like a quick, like, I'm keeping it because it's like, oh, this guy's ready. Like that's the vibe I get when I hear like somebody about to take a breath when the beat's about to kick in. I'm like, oh, he's ready.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh shit. But like, and then with like rock and like emo and a lot of the acoustic recording type of stuff, it's like I feel like that's like the fucking sprinkles on your
Yeah, for
ice
sure.
cream. It's like you don't really notice it, but if you take away the breath in a lot of tracks, like you notice it. You know what
It
I mean?
sounds awkward as fuck
Yeah.
without it. Now I will say I definitely I'll do it one of two ways. And this is something I really wanted to mention. I There was a long time where I was not automating the volume of the vocals.
Oh, big thing, dude.
Dude,
Big
it
thing.
has become such an important part of the process for me. I actually I don't know if it was like it definitely wasn't laziness. Like nothing I do in this world is out of laziness.
Yeah.
Aside from me using the same mic setup because I got to work fast, but it's not even laziness, it's being realistic about deadlines. Anyway,
And it's not a bad mic setup, so it's
yeah,
you know.
fucking yeah, sounds good. Um but so it wasn't laziness, but more so like I didn't realize how big of a difference it can make to like go through and automate
And
the
you don't
volume
notice
of
it
my
either
vocal.
in songs. Like 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 I bet if you listen to my song on Sunday, you will not even notice how much I automate the volume. I'll tell you what, 90% of our vocals are automated. Like fades, all of that type of shit. Like a lot of it's automated. And I might do it a lot more than people, but I do it because it adds uh what's that shit called? Variation. Variation.
Hmm.
Variation is very important in music. And like not variation, what is that called? It's not variation. It's like
Variety.
no. We'll go with variation. But I don't remember what it's called, but it's just like basically like yeah, like I feel like if you hear something that like if you okay in a verse right like with rap I'm just specifically talking about rap but like when you listen to a verse and you hear them like a lot of rapping either they're singing with a melody but the melody's like say if it's like the note's A they're usually just singing A and like at the very end they might do like a fucking C right but so with that I lost my train of thought damn it what were we just talking about
Automation.
automation yeah so with that like I feel like when they're just sitting here in that not monotone but that range just sitting in that range which is technically monotone but I don't find it to be monotone if you add like these subtle automations to the vocals like every once in a while it makes it just sound like it's like flowing you know like that's something I like I don't know if other people do that but it makes it actually sound like it's like constantly like going with the beat and like it's not like every single time like a line happens I like fade in or fade out it's just
Mm,
sometimes I hear the beat and maybe there's not a snare hit there and there's only a hi-hat and there's like a kick there maybe I might duck the volume of the vocal and rise it into the next kick you know what I mean stuff
interesting.
like that so it adds like this like fucking flow. It makes it flow. Literally, that's the only. I was like, how do I make this flow better than I'm already flowing on it? Oh, let me add automation because then it'll force a flow. I also do that with all my transitions. I make, I make, um, I make everything quieter before it goes into the transition, and then when it when it goes back, it's still at the same volume, but you don't hear like so. Say a measure before the transition happens, I'll make it quieter, and then when the transition's happening, the bridge, the fucking pre-chorus, whatever it is, it happens. It sounds like it's like different, but you can't hear the dynamic difference because your brain's not your if it's quick enough, your brain doesn't know the dynamic difference. So when you
Hmm.
pull in the like that the FX to pull it in, like the fucking like risers and fallers, and you actually make the riser quieter while it's going into the next transition. So like say if it's rising up and you actually make the volume go down while it's rising up, your ear can't hear that because it's just a frequency burst, right? So when it's falling down in volume, your ear doesn't notice it. But when the volume, when the track kicks in, it's at the same volume it was in the beginning of the track, or when it was at its loudest. But it sounds 15 times more louder just because I automated the riser and and all of these things to make it sound just a tiny bit quieter. You know what I mean? So your ears don't notice it, but it makes it sound quieter. So when your ears do notice it, when the transition kicks in, you're like, wow, this part sounds huge, but it's the same volume as the fucking verse before, you know?
Right.
So like automation's like a very like I think that was like one of the biggest compliments Matt Trinkle ever gave me because Matt Trinkle doesn't listen to the music I make. And he was just like, you know what, the one thing I like that you do, Luke? He's like, you automate. I don't think he used automate, but he's like, you use a lot of crescendos and like
Yeah.
decrescendos. And I was like, yeah, I do. That's like a big thing in my music. He's like, you don't listen. He was like, when I listen to other rap, it's very straight, very same volume. I was like, yeah, I spent a lot of time like I appreciated it because I like doing it. I find joy
Yeah.
in it. But I spend like if I'm mixing, I'll spend like 3 or 4 hours automating just at the
Hmm.
very end of my mix, just automating it. Snares, I automate snares
Oh yeah, I
first.
do. I I automate. I mean, not everything. Like if it doesn't need it, I ain't gonna do it.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
I love like I particularly like automating my my reverbs. I think it's necessary because
Yes.
like dude, I used to be such a fucking set it and forget it guy because I didn't know better. I was just starting out. But like now I'm a very big fan of like, okay, cool, this part's gonna like this big song's gonna drop down into this like quiet little bridge, and I'm gonna dry everything up, and then it's gonna come back and boom, it's gonna fucking really open up. Um,
Yeah. I
but
no, go.
in terms of vocals, my like like what you're doing sounds a lot cooler than what I do. I don't necessarily know if I need it because I feel like
I
that's
would
like
try it.
yeah, I will.
I
I
would
feel
try it
like it's
when
more
it's specifically for you when going into like a chorus
mhm.
or a pre-chorus. Like in the pre-chorus, do a lot of that because like usually pre-choruses are like the quieter transitions. And then what you can do is make the volume of your vocals going into the chorus quieter. So when the chorus kicks, it sounds fucking huge. Whatever, even if it's a quiet chorus, it sounds bigger than that fucking pre-chorus in the verse before. Like that's my whole trick is making the chorus or whatever the big part has to be sound the biggest without actually adding any fucking plugins or volume, just automating shit behind it.
Mhm.
So it's just like a full it's flow, you know?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. My thing like I found it very necessary cuz like I mentioned like I'm just
No.
like whether it's good or bad, like I'm a very dynamic singer and like it even like it happens in the middle of a line. Like there could be a line like where I start kind of higher up in my range and kind of like descend down the scale and then like as I descend down the scale like I'm not really like I'm not projecting as much. So I kind of like I kind of need to like slowly like as the line goes on like I need to automate the vocals like to be louder so it stays within like I'm not sucking all the movement out of the vocal but I'm keeping it in a consistent like place
Yeah, you're
in the
just playing
mix.
cleanup.
Yeah, for sure. So
I'm
that's
I'm I'm
also
just doing I'm doing like a mixing style of automation while like what you do is literally like what you're supposed to do with automation. I'm just doing the extra shit because I think it sounds good. Like that's it.
yeah, for sure.
That's like
Yeah,
the
I'll have to
big
give it a
thing.
have to give it a shot.
Yeah, it's like the big thing with everything is like everything that we say is just what we like, people. It's
Mhm.
not anything you have to follow or do. It's just the way that we do it. Like me and Jarrett could actually be the worst fucking mixing engineers on the fucking internet, and you know we could have Steve. Hold on, Albini. You know how I remembered his name? My stepdad's name's Al. I like beanies. Albini. Um, that's how I remembered that literally. But you know, we could have Steve Albini listen to everything we do, and he's like, "This is garbage."
Oh
But
yeah,
like,
he would think it's
yeah,
garbage.
and then
For
but
sure.
but then we could be the next Bush. And
Right. Right.
you know, but to close this out, I need to ask you a question because I don't know anything about it.
No, I don't know shit about fuck.
No, I
So
think you might
good
know.
luck.
I think you might know. And if you don't, then we'll have to figure somebody out who does. What's the fucking love hate relationship with Bush? Because from what I know, I've listened to a lot of their songs and I think they're good. But then I hear people being like, you know,
Oh, I mean, I think like Austin was kind of talking about this on uh on the last episode, the one that will come out, well, it's out
It's
now.
out. Yeah.
The one before this episode, Austin talks about how he compared that one band to Bush, and they got offended, and he was like, "Oh no, like I didn't mean it in an offensive way. Like I
I think
think
that's why
Bush
I've
is
been
sick."
thinking about it too.
Yeah. Um, I like it's the literal same thing with like Nickelback. Like like some people think it's like the absolute most like average kind of like butt rock that you can get.
It's average.
Yeah, but it's also like Nickelback. Like Nickelback's sick, dude. I don't give a
Nickelback
shit.
rips.
Yeah, bro, that band's sick.
I'm actually
Like,
kind of tired of the hate of Nickelback. Like I'm
yeah,
about
bro.
to I'm
Like
about to
it's
start a whole
2021.
thing. They're upset about it.
2021. Grow
They're
up.
actually upset about it. No. Like Nickelback is at a point being like, why? Like literally we destroyed their career. You understand that? That joke
Yeah, it
destroyed
just
their
became
career.
a meme.
Like and destroyed Nickelback. Like
To an extent. I mean, I think they have a very
when we're 30, oh, Nickelback's about to come back hard.
yeah. I mean, I think they have a huge fan base that unironically
Loves them,
thinks
yeah.
it's the best shit since fucking sliced bread.
And I'm one of those people. I unironically like Nickelback. But also at the same time, I know the people who listen to Nickelback, and I laugh about that. You know what I mean?
I too like it's not like I don't ironically like Nickelback. Like I think like they did what they did it well. They made a fucking bag off of it.
Bro,
Like
they wrote the first metalcore album.
like well, that's debatable.
No. Have you heard that joke? Austin always every time I show it Austin, he's like, I'm about to put on the first breakdown ever created. And it's a Nickelback song. It's like song 6 on this one album that was like a metal album. Not the recent one, like the very first Nickelback metal album. And he puts it on and it's literally like, dude, this is what made me like fully like be like, I can't hate on Nickelback. It was a hard ass breakdown. Like it was just like a dun, gun. I was like Nickelback, what? What?
Yeah, no, like I don't ironically think Nickelback is good. Now, if you like I could pick literally could pick 1,000 other records that I'd rather hear. But like for what it is, like
they're not my top
good.
500.
Yeah, like but for what it is, like it's solid and like I don't hate on them for it. Like go make your fucking bag, like doing that thing. That's cool. But yeah, I think it's like so I think it's just like that thing like
But what's the meme around Bush?
that it's like the same it's the same thing with Nickelback that it's just so like incredibly fucking average and like generic and formulaic and just like there's not a whole lot of like there's not an incredible amount of like artistic merit to it.
Wasn't when we were younger, weren't they like the nonconformists of our like rock scene, right? Like they were like the 2004 punk guys. You know what I mean? Like weren't they on that
were
vibe
around before that? They were I think late.
No,
90s.
but like when we were growing up, like when we were like not like when they started, but when we were growing up, like I felt like everybody who was like, yeah, I listened to Bush was like the cool kid.
Yeah, it could be because I remember when it was like when it wasn't totally lame to listen to Nickelback, like it was kind of like fuck
Yeah,
this
I remember going on a whale watchers trip to Boston,
right
in 3rd grade, and they for 10 hours we had a 10-hour ride or 13-hour ride to Boston. At least 8 of those hours were learning every lyric of Rockstar and how to live like him.
Hell yeah.
I just want to be a big rock star living in don't remember the lyrics. Didn't work.
Still
Dude, that song rips. I look, when touring comes back, when shows come back, I'm going to see Nickelback. I'm going to see Korn for a fifth time. And I'll see Korn until literally that fucking dude is dying on stage. I don't give a shit. He's going to be the next Ozzy. You know what I mean?
I mentioned this. I don't know if it was I think I've mentioned this on the podcast. I don't know if it was like an official like co-headlining tour, but at the Meadowlands, I saw Bon Jovi and Nickelback. I was like
That
9,
rips. That rips.
bro.
Bon Jovi.
Like,
Okay, I'm gonna put this out there, and I think people might get pissed off, but I don't look. I think Bon Jovi actually might be the king of Jersey.
yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna
I don't think
fight.
Bruce is.
I mean, Bruce is like,
Bruce might be monumental, but he is not the king of Jersey. Sorry.
I don't have an opinion because I think
I'm not from
like
Jersey either,
like
by the way.
I'm not a
So.
hater, bro. Bruce is fucking sick and Bon Jovi's fucking sick, dude.
Yeah, but I
don't
feel
give
like
a
Bon
fuck.
Jovi had a way more monumental thing than Bruce. Bruce was only in the 80s. Bon Jovi went forever, bro.
Oh no, dude. I think you're wrong, bro. I think like
When that Red album came out, the Red Box album by Bon Jovi,
oh yeah.
what was Bruce Springsteen's best? What was his like most recent great album?
No, for like I get what you're saying, but I think if you look at like I think if you were to look at that time, like relatively the same time, like if you were to look at like ticket sales, like I think just as many, if not more, were going to see Bruce and the E
No,
Street Band.
100% more people were seeing Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, bro. Because
100%.
like that, like dude, they like I saw Bruce, dude. They played
But Bruce Springsteen
for
was
like
the
4 hours.
yeah, but
Dog.
they
It
were
was
like the
wild.
first like if like think about this. Like they were butt rock like when Bon Jovi was kicking. You know what I mean? Like
But Bon Jovi's always been butt rock, though.
no,
You
but I'm
know?
saying hold on. They're both butt rock. Let's put this out there. But what I'm saying is like if we're gonna sit here and when the term butt rock, like let's say the term butt rock became a thing in 2000, right? Bon Jovi was not butt rock then. Like in our young age mindset, and I feel like Bon Jovi, like dude, here's my argument. Bruce definitely sold more tickets. But I think Bruce only sold more tickets because his name was Bruce Springsteen. Bon Jovi was releasing hits up until 2008, 2010. I mean, like Bruce Springsteen's just playing the same fucking albums now. Listen, and then also, does Bruce make all of the proceeds from his band? No, he's under a fucking label like a pleb. Bon Jovi owns a fucking a hockey team, and he owns or is it a hockey team? Yeah, he owns a hockey team and he owns all of Bon Jovi's proceeds and he pays his fucking band members out of his pocket, not a label. So, I'm just sitting here putting in like,
I don't know if I wish Kevin was on this episode. I don't know if that's
yeah,
true.
yeah. I don't know if it's also true either, but I know that the one big true fact is that Bon Jovi handles all of the money and Bruce Springsteen probably just gets a check from his fucking label. And
Also, it was Arena Football, the Philadelphia Soul
yeah, that's what it
that
was.
he owned.
Yeah. But
But
still, I'm just saying
anyway,
like,
I'm not like I'm not gonna
does
argue with
Bruce
you. And
Springsteen own a fucking football team?
anyone who has an opinion, sound off in the comments. We want to know who's the king of Jersey.
Because I think, look, Kings resign, right? Like at time, like they died. I think Bruce Springsteen lost his kingship. Like it's his time's gone. I would see Bon Jovi today.
I would see both of them today.
I don't give a shit. I'm literally about to piss off so many Bruce Springsteen fans. I think his music sucks, and I don't give a shit about it.
Nah.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about it. Not one shit.
Nah.
Ask me how many Bruce Springsteen songs I know.
That's your problem.
0.
He's got hits, bro.
All right, in the comments as well, make a list of Bruce Springsteen's hits, and then I'll literally make a YouTube video of me going through them and reacting.
Bro, you'd love it. You'd love it. I'll make you a Bruce playlist, bro, and you'll be like the boss.
Yeah. But hands down, Steely Dan.
Yeah, that's for sure. Steely Dan's the king of everything. Best dad rock band, one of the best bands. All right. Thank you for listening to Two Dudes, Two Dolls. I'm gonna sign off, and yeah,
Peace.
peace.